All right, let me hit you with the real talk, fellas. You know how life has this funny way of throwing curveballs at you? Well, here's one of them when someone who's been silent suddenly pops back into your life. You've been going about your day, minding your own business, and out of nowhere they reach out. Now, I know what you're thinking, why now? And let's be honest, your emotions might be all over the place. You might feel confused, angry, or maybe even a little bit hopeful. But here's the thing, gentlemen, when you find yourself in that moment where you're stuck between your emotions and trying to figure out what to do, remember this: patience and self-respect are your best friends right now. I'm not saying you should just sit there like a rock and not feel anything. No, you're human and emotions are a part of us. But here's the deal: it's easy to respond to someone out of emotion, out of impulse. You get that text and suddenly your heart starts racing. You want to respond right away. You want to get those words off your chest. Maybe you're angry, maybe you're hurt, or maybe you miss them and want to see if there's still a chance. But the truth is, when you act on those emotions right away, without thinking it through, you often end up regretting it. Now, let's talk about patience. Patience is a powerful thing, gentlemen. When you show patience, it means you're not reacting to the first thing that pops into your head. You're taking a moment to gather your thoughts, to make sure you're not just responding out of frustration, hurt, or whatever emotional roller coaster you're on. Patience gives you the time to think about the bigger picture. It allows you to stop and ask yourself some key questions before making any decisions. Like, what do I want? What is this person's intention by reaching out now? And more importantly, what do I deserve in this situation? Self-respect is just as important. You see, when someone goes silent on you and then pops back up, it can feel like they've disrespected you. And if they've been absent for a long time, it can make you feel like an afterthought, like you weren't important enough for them to stick around and communicate with you. So in those moments, you've got to keep your self-respect intact. Don't just let anyone waltz back into your life and treat you like an option. You've got to set the standard, and that standard is built on your self-respect. Self-respect means you don't settle for scraps. It means you know your worth and won't lower your standards just to fill a void in your life. And here's where it gets tricky the moment they reach out. It can stir up that old spark, that old chemistry. You start remembering the good times, the laughter, the connection you once had. But listen, just because those feelings come flooding back doesn't mean you should forget about the side. Don't let your emotions cloud your judgment. Take a moment, breathe, and realize that you've grown since the last time you heard from this person. You've learned things about yourself, your life, and what you want in a relationship. The version of you today is not the version of you that they left behind. Patience and self-respect give you the ability to protect your emotional well-being. You don't have to respond right away. Take your time, evaluate the situation, and most importantly, understand that you are in control here. When someone reaches out after silence, they may want a second chance, but they also need to prove that they're worth that chance. They need to show you that they've learned, grown, and that they're not just coming back because it's convenient for them. So, when that message pops up on your phone, remember that you don't owe anyone a rushed response. You have the power to take your time, to think it through, and to make a decision based on what's best for you, not just what feels right in the moment. Keep that self-respect. Don't give in to impulsive reactions, and let patience be your guide. You've got the control, you've got the power, and you deserve nothing less than the best. So let patience and self-respect lead the way when it comes to deciding how to respond. When you find yourself in a situation where someone who has been silent suddenly reaches out to you, your first impulse might be to respond immediately. It's a natural human reaction. We live in a world where we are constantly connected, and every ping from our phone seems to demand our attention. But here's the thing, if there's one thing you need to remember in moments like this, it's that responding out of impulse is rarely the best choice. Acting without thinking can lead to regret, confusion, and unnecessary emotional turmoil. Why do we feel the need to respond right away? Well, it's all about instant gratification. You see, when we hear from someone who's been absent, it feels good. It feels like validation, like they're reaching out to us because they miss us, because they need us, and that makes us feel wanted. But that feeling is often fleeting. When we act on that impulse and respond right away, we may be giving away too much too soon, and we risk putting ourselves back in a situation that's not healthy for us, emotionally or mentally. Now, I'm not saying that you should ignore the message or be cold. What I'm saying is that before you rush to hit that reply button, take a breath. Give yourself time. Slow down and really think about the situation. You see, when someone reaches out after silence, especially after a long period, you have to be careful. You're not just responding to a message. You're deciding how you want this interaction to shape your emotional future. You're choosing whether or not this person deserves a place in your life again. When you act without thinking, you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position. Sure, it may feel like a quick response is the right thing to do, but you're not considering the bigger picture. You're not pausing to ask yourself some key questions. Why did they go silent in the first place? What's their reason for reaching out now? Do I want to reopen this chapter, or have I grown beyond it? These questions matter, and the only way to answer them honestly is to give yourself time and space to reflect. By responding out of impulse, you might be giving them a second chance that they haven't earned, or reopening a door that you've worked hard to close. Another reason why acting impulsively isn't a good idea is because it's easy to let emotions drive your actions. If you've been hurt by this person in the past, or if their silence left you feeling abandoned, it's easy to fall into a pattern of emotional response. You might want to lash out, ask why they were silent for so long, or demand answers right away. But reacting in that way only fuels negativity and doesn't give you the clarity you need. You deserve to respond thoughtfully, not in the heat of the moment. Taking your time before responding also allows you to set the tone for the interaction. You don't have to be rude or dismissive, but you also don't have to jump back into the relationship or friendship as if nothing happened. By slowing down, you create space for a conversation that's meaningful, one that reflects your needs and your boundaries. You're not letting your emotions or their actions dictate the pace. Instead, you're controlling the flow of the interaction. You're deciding whether or not you want to engage at all, and if you do, how much energy you want to put into it. If you decide to respond, take a moment to think about what you want from this interaction. Do you want closure? Do you want an explanation? Or do you simply want to let them know that you're not interested in reconnecting? That's all up to you. But you can only make that decision clearly if you've given yourself the time to process everything first. People who truly want to reconnect in a meaningful way will take the time to address their past mistakes and show that they're willing to do better moving forward. Another aspect to consider is the timing. Why is this person reaching out now? And is it really the right time for you? Sometimes people reach out during moments of vulnerability, such as when they've gone through a breakup, a personal struggle, or a period of isolation. While it's natural to want to help them, it's essential to ask whether their need for connection is about their emotional state or about rekindling something with you. Are they looking for someone to lean on in a time of difficulty? Or are they genuinely interested in building something solid and healthy with you again? Understanding this distinction will help you gauge whether their intentions align with your own emotional needs. In any case, you must evaluate what you're looking for in this interaction. Are you looking for closure? Are you hoping to rebuild the relationship? Or are you simply curious about why they reached out? You don't want to fall back into a pattern of seeking validation or affection from someone who might not have the right intention. Before making any decisions, make sure that their intentions are in line with what you want from the relationship, whether that's reconciliation, closure, or moving on entirely. Evaluating their intentions isn't about being cold or cynical. It's about protecting your emotional well-being and making sure that you're not letting someone back into your life who isn't bringing anything positive. You don't need to rush into anything. Take your time, ask the tough questions, and get clarity before making any decisions. Ultimately, this is about safeguarding your heart and your mental space. You deserve to know that anyone who enters your life again is doing so with genuine intention. It's about creating space for those who respect you, appreciate you, and genuinely want to build something solid with you. So don't just jump back in when someone reaches out. Take the time to reflect, evaluate, and ensure that their intentions are worth your time and energy. Trust your instincts, take your time, and ensure that when they reach out, their intentions align with your values and what you deserve. When someone who has been silent suddenly reaches out, one of the most important things you need to remember is that you have the right to set boundaries. Boundaries are an essential part of any healthy relationship, whether it's romantic, familial, or even in friendships. They help define what you will and won't accept, and they allow you to protect your emotional and mental space. If you're someone who's been hurt or confused by this person's silence, it's even more important to establish those boundaries clearly. Just because they reached out doesn't mean you're obligated to respond immediately or even engage at all. You are not beholden to anyone who hasn't treated you with the respect and care you deserve. Setting boundaries starts with understanding what your emotional needs are in the situation. You have to know what you're willing to tolerate and what crosses the line. For instance, if this person's silence left you feeling abandoned or confused, you may need to make it clear that any further communication will only be welcome if it's sincere and respectful. If you want an apology for the hurt they caused, then it's okay to ask for that. If you're not ready to open up emotionally to them again, that's also perfectly fine. What's crucial here is that you're the one in control of how much access they get to your life and heart. It's easy to fall into the trap of allowing someone back into your life because you feel guilty, or because you think you're supposed to be forgiving. Yes, forgiveness is important, but it doesn't mean that you have to open the door wide and let someone back in without regard for your feelings. Setting boundaries is about making sure that you're not sacrificing your peace or your mental well-being for the sake of someone else's comfort. You deserve respect, understanding, and clarity, all of which can only happen when you're able to draw the line and communicate your needs effectively. Another aspect of setting boundaries is knowing when it's okay to say no. It's possible that the person reaching out expects things to pick up where they left off, without considering the hurt their absence may have caused. They might think that you'll be happy to hear from them, and that all is forgiven simply because they've made the first move. But that's not how things work, and you don't have to allow them to believe that it does. If they reach out and expect to pick things up as though nothing happened, you have the right to say no. You can express that you need time, that you're not ready to engage on the same level, or even that you don't want to engage at all. The power to make those decisions rests entirely with you. Setting boundaries also means not letting the other person dictate the pace of the relationship. They might want things to move quickly, but if that's not what you want or need, it's okay to slow things down or take a step back. If they want to act as though everything is fine without addressing the issues that led to the silence in the first place, you have every right to stand firm in your decision to take things slow. No one should rush you into a situation where you're not comfortable. Setting these clear boundaries ensures that any future interactions are respectful and on your terms, not theirs. It's also important to remember that boundaries aren't just about saying no to things. They are also about creating space for things that are positive and healthy. This doesn't mean you're shutting the door on them forever. Rather, you're creating the necessary space to figure out whether it's safe, healthy, and worth it to open it again. Boundaries are also a sign of self-love. They show that you value your emotional health and well-being enough to prioritize them. You are not a doormat for anyone, and your worth is not determined by whether someone else is willing to give you the attention or affection you crave. You deserve a relationship or friendship that is built on mutual respect, communication, and trust, and those things can't exist without boundaries. At the end of the day, you have the power to decide what's best for you, and that includes setting the boundaries that protect your heart and mind. No one has the right to push you into a relationship or a situation that you're not comfortable with. You don't have to feel guilty for choosing to protect yourself, and you don't have to feel bad for saying no when something doesn't align with your emotional needs. Remember that setting boundaries is a sign of strength, not weakness. It's about ensuring that your relationships are healthy and that you're in control of your emotional well-being. Setting boundaries isn't just a choice, it's a form of self-respect, and it's essential for creating healthy, balanced relationships. When someone reaches out to you after a period of silence, one of the most important steps you can take is to prioritize your emotional well-being. It's easy to get swept up in the excitement, confusion, or even hurt when they reappear, especially if you still have lingering feelings for them. But your emotional health should always come first, and you must approach this situation with a clear understanding that you are in control of how you feel, how you respond, and how much space you give them in your life. Taking care of your emotional well-being starts with recognizing and acknowledging the feelings that arise when you hear from them. There's no shame in feeling a mix of emotions, whether it's excitement, anger, sadness, or hope. In fact, it's natural. The key, however, is to not let those emotions cloud your judgment or push you into making decisions you may regret later. The first step to prioritizing your emotional well-being is accepting these emotions without letting them dictate your actions. You are allowed to feel whatever comes up, but it's important to respond to the situation with thoughtfulness and a clear sense of what you want moving forward. When you prioritize your emotional health, you also recognize the importance of protecting your peace. Silence can be a form of communication in itself, and it can often leave emotional scars. If the silence was caused by their behavior, whether it was ghosting, inconsistency, or any form of emotional neglect, then you must ask yourself, what has changed since then? Are they reaching out because they truly care about how you felt? Or are they simply testing the waters to see if you'll let them back in without addressing the past? This is where you need to be honest with yourself. You have the right to feel hurt, frustrated, or even angry. But you also have the responsibility to protect your peace by not allowing someone back into your life unless their intentions and actions align with your emotional needs. Another important aspect of prioritizing your emotional well-being is setting healthy emotional boundaries. If you allow someone to return to your life without addressing the hurt they may have caused, you risk reopening old wounds. This can prevent you from truly healing and moving on. Take a moment to reflect on the emotional toll this person's silence took on you, and ask yourself if they've shown any genuine signs of remorse or growth. If they haven't, it might be wise to take a step back and reassess whether allowing them back into your life is worth the potential emotional cost. Prioritizing your emotional health means understanding that it's okay to walk away if they aren't offering anything that contributes positively to your life. It's also crucial to remind yourself that you deserve a relationship where both parties contribute equally to each other's well-being. If their silence was a pattern of inconsistency or abandonment, you have to ask yourself whether they are capable of offering you the kind of emotional support and stability that you need. You should never settle for anything less than someone who treats you with the respect, care, and commitment you deserve. Prioritizing your emotional health means knowing that you deserve love, attention, and affection that comes from a place of respect and mutual. By giving yourself time to process your feelings, you create a space where you can approach the situation with more clarity. It allows you to separate your emotions from your decisions and avoid reacting purely out of hurt or frustration. Taking your time also helps you assess whether their reaching out is genuine. After a period of silence, it's not unusual to wonder why they suddenly decided to reconnect. Are they genuinely interested in making amends? Or are they simply seeking something from you? Whether it's closure, comfort, or even validation, it's easy to get caught up in the hope that they've changed or that they miss you. However, time gives you the chance to evaluate their motives. You don't need to rush into deciding whether to trust them again. Taking your time allows you to make a more informed decision about their intentions and whether they are deserving of your attention and emotional energy. It's also important to remember that their timing might not always align with yours. They may be reaching out when it's convenient for them, or when they've decided they need something. But that doesn't mean you have to meet them where they are. The space and time you take to respond can help you recalibrate and ensure that you are not simply reacting to their needs, but considering your own. In situations like this, it's essential to remember that your time and energy are valuable. You are allowed to take as long as you need to decide how you want to proceed. There's no rush. There's no deadline for how quickly you should respond. Their silence didn't follow a schedule, so your response shouldn't have to either. One of the benefits of taking time is that it allows you to check in with yourself. How do you feel about the situation now that some time has passed? Have your feelings toward the person changed since they went silent? Do you feel more or less comfortable reaching out to them? Or do you feel like you've emotionally moved on? The answers to these questions can guide you in determining whether re-engaging with them is the right decision, or whether it's healthier to walk away. Sometimes, the distance provided by time can show you that things may never be the same again, and that's okay. Sometimes you may realize that the connection you once shared isn't as strong as it used to be, and that's a valuable insight that can save you from getting hurt again. Another advantage of taking your time is that it gives you room to reflect on what you truly want. Are you looking for closure, a resolution, or reconciliation? Or are you simply responding because it's what you feel expected to do? Knowing what you want out of the situation before you respond will guide you in how you communicate with them. If your desire is to gain closure, you might respond with specific questions or requests for an explanation. If you're open to reconciling, you might ask how they've changed or what their intentions are for re-entering your life. But if you are not interested in rekindling the relationship, taking time to process your feelings will allow you to set clear boundaries without feeling pressured to please them. Patience in these situations is also a reflection of self-respect. By waiting before you respond, you're showing yourself that you are worthy of thoughtful, measured responses rather than reacting out of emotion. You're respecting your own needs and emotional health, and you're proving that your happiness is more important than reacting impulsively. It's easy to feel guilty for taking time to yourself or not responding immediately, especially if you feel like you're supposed to be the one to make the first move. However, patience is a form of strength, and by taking your time, you're asserting control over your emotions and ensuring that you don't allow anyone to disrupt your peace for the sake of convenience. Ultimately, taking time before responding when someone reaches out after silence is an empowering choice. It gives you the space to decide what's best for you without rushing into decisions that may not align with your needs or desires. It's about honoring yourself and recognizing that your time, energy, and emotional well-being are precious. By slowing down and reflecting, you're ensuring that you respond in a way that truly serves you in the long run, not just in the moment. Taking your time before responding to someone who has been silent is not only a sign of emotional maturity, but also a powerful act of self-care that ensures you're making the right decision for your future.